Shocking fact, the Aztecs used not one but two calendars simultaneously to manage their time and rituals. The ritual calendar Tonalpohualli, consisting of 260 days, was based on cycles linked to natural phenomena and spiritual practices. Every 20 days in this calendar were named after deities, creating a deep connection between the heavens and the earth. Now imagine this. While Tonalpohualli governed the ritual life of the Aztecs, the solar calendar, Xiuhpohualli, consisting of 365 days, tracked seasonal changes, providing crucial information for agriculture about the time of planting and harvesting. But that's not the strangest part. Both calendars were combined into a complex cycle that lasted 52 years. This period was called the Union and ended with a ceremony of the renewal of the fire, during which the Aztecs gathered on the tops of their temples, fearing that the world might end if the fire was not relit. At this moment, priests observed the stars, recorded the positions of celestial bodies, and predicted astronomical phenomena with remarkable accuracy. Their calculations allowed them to know in advance when to expect a solar eclipse or the change of seasons, giving the Aztecs a sense of control over the unknown. Every ritual, every sacrifice was meticulously planned in accordance with the calendar cycles, creating a rhythmic flow of time, as if the gods themselves were managing these processes. In the days of transition between cycles, the streets were filled with an atmosphere of expectation and fear. What if the end of the world was indeed approaching? However, the Aztecs not only feared but also believed in the power of their calendar, which linked their daily life with eternity. These complex systems allowed the Aztecs not only to orient themselves in time but also to deeply understand their traditions and rituals, which continued to live in their culture. And you know what's most amazing? The Aztecs were able to not only predict eclipses but also accurately calculate the occurrence of rare astronomical phenomena, such as the appearance of comets, leaving their descendants in awe of their knowledge. Stonehenge, a mystery that captivates the imagination. Do you think you know why these massive stones, weighing up to 50 tons, were moved over distances of up to 240 kilometers? The sounds of the wind whistling between the boulders create an atmosphere of mystery, and their massive forms, shrouded in shadow, seem almost alive. Archaeologists still debate the purpose of this megalithic complex. Some believe it could have served as an ancient observatory, allowing for the observation of the sun and moon, while others claim it was a ritual center or even a place of healing. Imagine the sun's rays touching the surface of the stones on certain days of the year, creating extraordinary light effects and filling the space with mystical light. It is fascinating that the layout of Stonehenge perfectly aligns with astronomical phenomena. For example, during the summer solstice, the sun rises exactly over one of the entrances, creating a striking sight. How did the ancient builders achieve such precision? Some theories suggest they used primitive tools and methods, such as simple ropes and wooden structures for alignment. But that's not all. Did you know that some blocks were made of sarsens, while others were of a more rare stone called bluestone? These materials may not have been chosen by chance, as each has unique properties that could have been important for rituals. The stones that form this complex not only impress with their size, but also with the sounds they produce. When the wind passes among them, it creates melodies that can be compared to the whispers of ancient spirits. Doesn't that sound intriguing? Scientists continue to study Stonehenge, and there is still no consensus on how and why it was built. But what is truly astonishing, recent findings suggest that rituals related to life and death may have taken place at Stonehenge, making it even more cultic and mysterious. And what is the most intriguing? Some blocks could have been symbols of ancient deities that were revered by our ancestors, creating a connection between heaven and earth that we are still trying to understand. Imagine a city where streets were planned with such precision that their layout resembled a modern metropolis. This was the Indus Valley civilization. Archaeologists discovered two major cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, where each house had its own toilets and sophisticated sewage systems that even impress our modern-day counterparts. But how could such a remarkable culture suddenly vanish? Research indicates that the decline could have been caused by changes in river courses, which sharply reduced water access, or by climate changes leading to droughts. Other theories link the fall to invasions by Aryan tribes who, it seems, brought not only new ideas but also destruction. Epidemics may have played a role, decimating a population already struggling with resource scarcity. Mohenjo-daro was home to the famous citadel, a grand structure believed to serve both religious and administrative purposes. The most mysterious structure, however, was the Great Bath, a place where rituals of purification may have been conducted. Its walls reached 6 meters in height, and the bath was surrounded by meticulously laid tiles that still retained traces of ancient luster. Picture the bustle of crowded streets where merchants hawk their wares, and the air is filled with the mingling aromas of spices and fresh fruits. Gradually, this din would fade, and cities once teeming with life began to fall silent. Houses that once echoed with laughter and trade now stood empty, and streets were filled only with sand and shadows. In recent years, archaeologists have continued to uncover evidence that this civilization did not just disappear, but left behind many unanswered questions. For instance, how could such a highly organized culture suddenly face extinction? As researchers study the remnants, they encounter artifacts that could change our understanding of this enigmatic history, such as standardized weights and measures that indicate a level of trade and exchange surpassing many modern notions of ancient civilizations. The Sphinx, with its enigmatic expression, stands sentinel over time, and its mysteries can be shocking. Geologists studying its body assert that the erosional marks on the stone could indicate that this statue was created during an era when rainfall in the region was abundant, possibly more than 10,000 years ago. Imagine water flowing over weathered rocks, leaving its traces on the sturdy limestone body, which seemed to have been made for eternity. These traces are such that contemporary science cannot explain how they could have formed in conditions when the climate was drier. But this is just the beginning. The astronomical alignment of the Sphinx with the constellation Leo suggests that it may have been built during a time when this constellation was on the eastern horizon at the vernal equinox, which dates back to around 10,500 years before our era. This creates an intriguing paradox. How could the ancient Egyptians, when their civilization was just beginning to take shape, have created such a complex structure precisely aligned with astronomical events? And what is even more astonishing is the silent majesty of the Sphinx, which is impervious to time, evoking feelings of awe and reverence. When sunlight touches its face, the play of light and shadow makes one ponder what secrets this stone holds. Its surface bears the marks of millennia, which could tell stories of events of which we are not even aware. These marks are not just signs of erosion, they are testimonies that could lead to a re-evaluation of human history. What world might exist if the Sphinx were indeed older than we think? What history would unfold if its secrets were revealed? Are there more mysteries related to its origin waiting to be uncovered? In the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, hidden are bas-reliefs that make one ponder the capabilities of ancient civilizations. Their depictions are elongated objects resembling modern incandescent lamps, with something that can be interpreted as a filament inside. This creates the effect that these mysterious artifacts could indeed have been used for illumination. Now imagine this. On these bas-reliefs, it is visible how these lamps are connected to elements that resemble power sources. Isn't that fascinating? But researchers are divided. Some claim this as evidence of electricity in ancient Egypt, while others insist on the symbolic meaning of these images, linking them to the lotus and the rising sun, symbolizing life and rebirth. But that's not all. On the walls of the temple, one can also see other signs indicating the level of chemical and electrical knowledge of the ancient Egyptians. Golden artifacts found in this region hold secrets of technologies that could change our understanding of history. The soft light falling on these bas-reliefs creates an atmosphere of mystery, as if the temple itself breathes the breath of ancient secrets. Scientists studying these artifacts note that the preserved colors on the temple walls demonstrate remarkable durability, maintaining brightness even after thousands of years. But imagine if these bas-reliefs were not just symbols, but reflections of advanced technologies. Research shows that ancient Egyptians could understand such things as electrolysis, opening new horizons for our knowledge about them. And as you stand before these mysterious images, a question arises. What else is hidden in the depths of ancient civilizations that we have not yet deciphered? Few people know that ancient Romans developed concrete that not only survived the centuries, but also became stronger with the addition of volcanic ash. This material, known as pozzolana, allowed them to build impressive structures capable of withstanding loads that modern engineers are just beginning to comprehend. Imagine aqueducts stretching for tens of kilometers, still supplying cities with water, as if time had no power over them. Each of these aqueducts was a masterpiece of engineering thought. At heights of up to 40 meters, they used arch constructions that not only looked magnificent, but also ensured stability and longevity. When you walk under such grand arches, you can feel the coolness that flows from within, as if the building itself is breathing, protecting you from the scorching sun. The sound of water flowing through the aqueducts creates a mesmerizing symphony, reminding us of the greatness of the Roman civilization. But that's not all. Roman engineers built baths where magnificent mosaics and smooth marble surfaces inspired awe. Here one could not only bathe but also enjoy the company of friends, for the baths were true centers of social life. Heating technologies like hypocaust allowed them to maintain comfortable temperatures even on the coldest days, while walls adorned with exquisite artistry gave the place an atmosphere of luxury and coziness. But Roman roads, which connected the entire empire, were a true achievement. Their width reached 4 meters, and underfoot you could feel the smoothness of stone polished by centuries, making travel comfortable and safe. Many of these roads are still in use today as a living testament to engineering genius. It's interesting to note that Romans even built roads with a slope for water drainage to prevent destruction. Every detail was carefully planned, allowing them to create infrastructure that served as the foundation for many modern cities. Did you know that in some places Roman concrete can harden underwater, allowing Romans to build ports and docks that could withstand the onslaught of sea waves? This was a true marvel that enabled them to conquer new territories and strengthen their power. Did you know what the ancient Merida is? It's not just a city, it's a mystery hidden among dense jungles where architecture speaks in several languages. Imagine buildings where elements of Mayan culture intertwine with distinctive features of the Toltecs, creating a harmony of styles that has baffled archaeologists for centuries. These ancient structures, built from limestone, have unusual carved details that sometimes resemble sculptures depicting gods and animals, and sometimes geometric patterns characteristic of various cultures. But that's not all. There are theories that Merida was not just a settlement, but a significant trade and cultural center connecting different civilizations. How is that possible? Consider this. Artifacts found during excavations include unique items that indicate distant contacts with cultures from other regions, such as the Incas from Peru, or the peoples who once inhabited what is now the United States. Archaeologists have discovered ceramic artifacts adorned with patterns not found anywhere else in Mexico, as well as tools that appear to have been used for producing exotic goods. These findings challenge the traditional view that the Maya and Toltecs were isolated cultures. But that's not the most astonishing thing. In the jungles surrounding Merida, ruins of temples that once served as centers of religious life still stand. Imagine priests in pristine white robes ascending the steps of these temples, surrounded by the sounds of the tropical forest, where birds sing and a gentle breeze brings the scent of exotic flowers. They could communicate with the gods, conducting rituals that may have been connected to trade, war, and even astronomy. And here's where it gets really extraordinary. Archaeologists have found evidence that some buildings were constructed on older foundations left by preceding cultures, indicating that this land has been sacred for millennia. Now imagine all of this surrounded by dense jungle, hiding even more secrets waiting to be discovered. Merida is not just a historical site, it's a living chronicle of cultural fusion where each stone tells a story and every new excavation opens a portal to the past filled with mysteries. At the heart of Mexico lies Teotihuacan, a city that was once one of the largest in the world, and its mysteries continue to captivate researchers. Imagine the pyramids of the sun and moon, majestically towering over ancient streets, occupy the central place in this mystical space. The Pyramid of the Sun reaches a height of 63 meters and is the third largest pyramid in the world, with its base covering an area comparable to 8 football fields. The Pyramid of the Moon, while slightly smaller, is no less impressive, standing at the end of the Avenue of the Dead, which stretches over more than 200 meters. This avenue, meticulously paved and perfectly planned, connects the city's main structures in a geometric grid that is both awe-inspiring and enigmatic. Who built this city? There is no definitive answer. Although many associate it with the Aztecs, they arrived here centuries after its abandonment. Research indicates that the inhabitants of Teotihuacan disappeared, leaving behind only the stone remnants of their civilization. What caused their disappearance? Some scientists suggest it could be linked to ecological catastrophes, but there is no concrete evidence. Walking along the Avenue of the Dead, you feel the gentle touch of the wind on your face, and the sunlight filtering through the clouds plays on the steps of these monumental structures, creating a unique atmosphere. In the silence, you hear the echo of footsteps reflecting off the ancient walls, as if the stones themselves are telling their stories. The mysteries of Teotihuacan remain unsolved, and perhaps it is this very enigma that makes it so attractive to researchers and tourists from around the world. The city covers approximately 80 square kilometers, and within its boundaries you can find not only pyramids, but also numerous other structures such as temples, residential districts, and even art galleries that were once filled with vibrant murals. These murals, preserved to this day, provide insight into the culture and life of its inhabitants, but they remain only part of the puzzle that still awaits solution. And the most intriguing part? Beneath the surface, there are even more secrets waiting to be discovered, and each new excavation, each new artifact adds new details to the enigmatic history of Teotihuacan. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, the Cro-Magnons appear on the stage of archaeology, people whose art and culture would astound even the most seasoned contemporary artists. These enigmatic beings left behind rock paintings that continue to inspire awe, realistic animal depictions, hunting scenes, and even abstract symbols. Imagine how they created their masterpieces in caves where primitive lamps flickered, and the walls were painted red and black, reflecting not only the light, but also their deep emotions. These artworks were not merely preparatory sketches for hunting. They were genuine rituals connecting them with the spirits of nature. And here is the most astonishing part. How did they achieve such technical prowess as needles with eyes, harpoons, and atlatls, spear throwers, without any apparent predecessors? Their skills and technologies seem even more advanced than those of previous civilizations. The enigma of the Cro-Magnons lies in the fact that their culture developed rapidly, and in essence, they were the first true artists and craftsmen, leaving us a legacy that continues to intrigue scholars. In every cave where they worked, one can almost feel a connection to these ancient artists, their breath, their dreams, etched onto the walls. Recall how the walls of caves absorbed the imprints of their hands, as if they sought to leave a trace of their existence. These imprints are not just art, they are a cry from the soul that reaches us through the centuries. But what is even more astonishing is that they used a variety of natural pigments and even discovered ways to mix them to create new colors. This makes us ponder. What were their sources of inspiration? It is unclear how such a complex culture could have emerged in conditions where the struggle for survival was fierce. Consider how they gathered their tools, how they passed down their skills from generation to generation. Perhaps the key to understanding their extraordinary evolution lies in this. And here is the strangest thing. Some caves, such as Lascaux in France, still hold unsolved mysteries that await their time to be revealed. Do you know that ancient civilizations already created complex engineering systems that are astonishing? For instance, Roman aqueducts, stretching for tens of kilometers, were a masterpiece of engineering art, allowing clean water to be delivered to cities with populations of up to 1 million people. These monumental structures used gravity to move water along gentle slopes, and in some places their height reached 30 meters. Imagine the water flowing in channels that crisscross hills, and how Romans enjoyed it while the streets were filled with dust and dirt. Mohenjo-Daro, one of the oldest urban civilizations, boasts a sewage system that was far ahead of many modern cities. More than 4,000 years ago, residents of Mohenjo-Daro used flush toilets, and wastewater was channeled into special drains, indicating an exceptionally high level of hygiene for the time. No less impressive are the Cretan water supply systems made of terracotta pipes, which provided access to fresh water, and their design minimized losses. When you descend into the underground cisterns, you are enveloped in coolness, and the air is filled with a slight dampness, while the water whispers about the history stored in these walls. In Rome, public baths were true centers of life, where people gathered not only for hygienic procedures, but also for socializing and relaxation. The vaulted rooms of Roman thermae echoed with laughter and the sound of running water as hot water flowed from marble faucets, creating an atmosphere of luxury and comfort. Have you ever thought about the contrast between the purity of running water and the dusty streets of ancient cities? This difference underscores how important water was to life and culture. And the most amazing thing? Water in aqueducts could travel up to 100 kilometers, and along the way it was protected from contamination, allowing thousands of people to enjoy its purity every day. There are opinions that the concept of the Earth's shape developed gradually, but in fact, scientists such as the Pythagoreans in the 6th century BC already began to suspect that the planet is spherical. They based their assumptions on observations of stars and planets, noticing that when ships sail away, their masts disappear first, followed by the hulls, which could not be explained if the Earth were flat. Aristotle in the 4th century BC presented several compelling arguments for the sphericity of the Earth. He observed the shadow of our planet during lunar eclipses, which was always circular. This discovery helped him convince many of his contemporaries that the world is not flat. Eratosthenes, who lived in the 2nd century BC, went even further. He used the shadows of 2 columns in different cities to calculate the circumference of the Earth with remarkable accuracy, determining it to be approximately 26,000 kilometers. But not only Greek thinkers recognized the Earth's spherical shape. In other ancient civilizations such as India and China, educated people also understood that the Earth is a sphere. For example, in India, astronomers already knew about the Earth's rotation around its axis and the influence of this rotation on the observed stars, which seemed to revolve around the North Star. Such observations emphasize how attentive ancient scientists were to celestial phenomena. This understanding allowed them to create accurate astronomical tables, Did you know that in ancient Rome, philosophers used such observations for navigation at sea, using stars as guides? In conclusion, the concept of the Earth's shape was based not only on logical deductions but also on observations of nature, which opened our eyes to this amazing world. And here's an interesting fact. In ancient times, when people looked at the stars, they could not even imagine that their gaze into the cosmic abyss would eventually lead to such endeavors as modern space travel. Imagine this: majestic pyramids rising above endless sands, each stone fitted with such precision that the gap between them does not exceed 1 millimeter. This is indeed true. Blocks weighed up to 80 tons, and their perfect alignment with the cardinal directions continues to amaze even modern scholars. How did the ancient Egyptian builders achieve such skill? There are numerous theories about how these colossal stones were moved. Some researchers claim that ramps were used, allowing for a smooth ascent of the blocks. Others believe that systems of levers were employed to lift heavy structures, while some even suggest that the blocks were transported via specially created waterways. But that's not all. Picture the scorching sun of the desert, burning the skin, the sound of stones grinding against each other, mixed with the cries of workers toiling under unbearable heat. The smell of limestone and the sweat of thousands fills the air, and the shadows cast by the pyramids at sunset create an atmosphere of mystery and grandeur. One of the most astonishing details is that they used tools made of copper, which melted at high temperatures. How did they then work the stone? Scholars still cannot provide a definitive answer. Some suggest that a combination of copper tools and abrasive sand allowed them to shape hard rocks. During the construction of the Pyramid of Cheops, for example, more than 2 million blocks were quarried, and if you add them all together, they would form a structure weighing tens of millions of tons. Did you know that pyramids were not only tombs but also true astronomical observatories? Their alignment is connected to the constellation of Orion and the direction of the entrance points exactly to the midday sun on the summer solstice. This makes them not just architectural marvels, but true wonders of science and astronomy. And just when you think you know everything about the pyramids, you realize some of the stones were gilded, reflecting sunlight so brightly that it blinded those passing by. Do you know that in Peru there exists a whole collection of mysterious geoglyphs that can only be seen from a bird's-eye view? These are the lines of Nazca, vast drawings that depict not only animals like hummingbirds and monkeys, but also geometric figures and plant motifs. Some of these images reach 370 meters in length. Imagine the heat of the desert scorching the earth and the soft whisper of sand beneath your feet, contrasting with the clear lines that have remained almost unchanged for centuries. These geoglyphs were created by removing the top layer of stones and earth to expose the light sand beneath, and their precision is truly remarkable. The lines seem to have been drawn with a laser, perfectly straight and clear. But why were they created? One theory suggests that they were ritual paths leading to sacred places, while others propose that they served as a calendar, helping the ancient inhabitants track time and seasons. Some scientists even suggest that the geoglyphs could have indicated sources of water, crucial for survival in this arid region. And here's where it gets really mind-boggling. Some researchers believe that these lines could have been messages to the gods. As the sun beats down on the desert, the wind whispers through the sand, and it seems as if the earth itself is sharing its secrets, leaving us with questions. How did these ancient artists create such monumental works of art without modern technology? And what's even more astonishing, one of the lines depicts a giant lizard over 200 meters long, with its eyes perfectly aligned with the stars. It's hard to believe, but in ancient Egypt there were methods of stone processing that remain a mystery to scientists even today. Granite, with a hardness of 7 on the Mohs scale, and diorite, reaching 8, were used to create monumental structures and statues that astound with their perfection. Imagine perfectly smooth surfaces shining like a mirror and precise right angles that appear as if they were cut with a laser. But the most astonishing thing is the cylindrical holes drilled with minimal deviation, leaving us baffled. How did the ancient masters achieve such precision? One theory suggests the use of abrasive sand mixed with water to create a powerful cutting tool. Now imagine how copper saws working in conjunction with this material could create perfect lines. But wait, there are even more exotic theories. Some scientists even suggest that the ancient Egyptians used sound technology for stone cutting. Yes, you heard it right. Perhaps they discovered the secrets of acoustics that we are yet to unravel. Polished granite, reflecting light like a mirror, maintained its smoothness for thousands of years. Imagine how its surface shimmers when sunlight falls on it, creating a visual effect that could impress even modern viewers. When you tap on the stone, you hear a characteristic sound reminiscent of a melodious chime that evokes admiration, as if it contains the energy of antiquity. The question is, how did the masters of that time achieve such unique harmony between art and science? We can only speculate about their secrets. Whatever method they used, the result was monuments that have stood for centuries, preserving their mysteries. Did you know that some of these stone blocks weighed up to 400 tons? How did they move them? This is another mystery that awaits an answer. In the mountains of China, in mysterious and isolated caves, granite discs with a diameter of about 30 centimeters were discovered, leaving scientists baffled to this day. Known as the dropstone discs, these artifacts feature a central hole and are etched with spiral grooves resembling micro-engravings. What is most intriguing is that these patterns are sometimes interpreted as ancient inscriptions detailing the crash of a spacecraft. The history of their discovery in 1938 by archaeologist Chi Te is shrouded in controversy and mystery. There have been numerous attempts to decipher these enigmatic symbols, with some researchers claiming they may contain information about extraterrestrial technologies or even time travel. But wait, there's more. Many scientists believe the story of the spacecraft crash is a hoax, and the discs are more likely to be the product of human creativity rather than evidence of extraterrestrial contact. Nevertheless, the atmospheric details of these finds captivate the imagination, envisioning these discs lying in the darkness of caves, surrounded by the sound of dripping water and silence. Something about those spiral patterns is mesmerizing, as if they hold ancient secrets we are not even aware of. And just when we think we've deciphered their meaning, new information emerges, casting doubt on everything we thought we knew. Despite scientific skepticism, some researchers continue to assert that these discs could be part of an ancient technology beyond our comprehension, raising questions about what we truly know about our history. Some discs have been found with minor damage, raising the question, were they left here by ancient beings, or are they merely traces of human activity? But what is truly shocking is that some discs bear symbols that remarkably resemble images found in other parts of the world, leading to hypotheses about ancient civilizations that may have interacted with each other at long-forgotten levels. Attention to these artifacts is only growing, and each new day brings new theories and discoveries that could change our understanding of the past. In the Knossos Palace, the largest on Crete, secrets are hidden that continue to stir the minds of archaeologists and historians. This multi-level structure with hundreds of rooms connected by labyrinthine corridors truly resembles the labyrinth spoken of in myths. Imagine thousands of square meters of areas, halls, and narrow passageways creating a real puzzle where it's easy to get lost. The palace's engineering systems were so advanced that they provided water through complex aqueducts and drainage channels. There were running water sources even in the bathrooms, which was a real marvel for the time. The walls still bear vibrant frescoes depicting scenes from the lives of the Minoans, including the bull cult, which was a sacred part of their culture. But what is truly astonishing, in the throne room paved with luxurious tiles, there is a throne that has survived to this day. This throne, carved from limestone, was surrounded by columns, and its back was adorned with bull images, indicating the importance of this animal in their society. In the storage rooms where grain and oil were stored, traces of a counting system using linear A script were found, suggesting that the Minoans were masters in organizing and managing resources. As you pass through the palace, sunlight penetrates through light shafts, creating a play of light and shadow, and the scent of the sea wafts through the open courtyards, as if the palace itself breathes life. The sounds of palace life, such as children's laughter, conversations, and even footsteps, echo through the corridors, creating the feeling that you are not just in an ancient building, but truly immersed in the atmosphere of the Minoan era. But what is truly shocking, to this day, no one knows exactly where the mythical Minotaur was located, and perhaps its secret is hidden in the depths of this enigmatic palace. Imagine a place where nearly all the knowledge of the ancient world was gathered, the Library of Alexandria, with a collection of up to 700,000 scrolls containing the wisdom of philosophers, astronomers, and poets. This was not just a building, but a treasure trove where the rustling of papyrus scrolls intertwined with the scent of fresh parchment. Each scroll was like a separate universe, waiting to be opened. Unique methods of information gathering made the library an irresistible magnet for scholars. Copies of all available texts were taken from every ship arriving at the port, allowing new knowledge to fill the shelves and reinforce the status of the Alexandrian Museum as a center of education. But what happened to this great treasure trove? Various versions of the library's demise tell of tragic events that befell it. One of the most famous is the fire that occurred during the siege of Alexandria by Julius Caesar. Not only scrolls, but also dreams of preserving knowledge were consumed in the flames. Some historians claim that the library was destroyed by the order of Caliph Omar, who believed that if it contained knowledge contrary to Islam, it should not exist. Others point to a gradual decline. When students stopped coming and funding was reduced, the library lost its luster. Inside its halls, a dim light from oil lamps created an atmosphere of mystery and seclusion, while scholars debated ideas that could change the world. How could such a great legacy disappear? Each version of the library's demise rings like a warning bell, making us ask, what have we lost forever? Isn't it intriguing? And do you know what's most shocking? Even today, there are manuscripts in the world that have not been translated, and they may contain secrets of which we are not even aware. Imagine an ancient world where surgeons, using primitive tools, performed procedures that seem fantastical today. The procedure of trepanation, drilling holes in the skull, practiced in the Neolithic era, actually helped many patients survive. Archaeologists have found skulls with signs of healing, indicating that after the operation, people not only survived, but also continued to lead active lives. In some cases, the holes in the skull reached a diameter of up to 5 centimeters, and this was done using simple stone or bronze tools that created a sharp sound when they came into contact with the bone tissue. Do you know that in Pompeii, surgical instruments such as scalpels and forceps were found, suggesting a high level of medical practice at the time? These instruments were made of bronze and iron, and their shape and function remarkably resemble modern surgical tools. Moreover, Egyptian medical papyri such as the Ebers papyrus contain recipes and descriptions of procedures, including the use of herbal anesthetics that could relieve pain and cause a mild intoxication. Picture the soft scent of opium, which was used to ease suffering during operations. It could calm patients, as they often experienced not only physical pain, but also fear. Ayurvedic practices in India offered methods based on the balance between body and spirit, including massage and the use of oils, which could also aid in recovery after operations. But that's not all. Do you know that in ancient Rome, doctors used special tools to remove stones from the urinary tract? These procedures were performed with such precision that some patients, despite the risk, returned for repeat procedures. How much pain and hope was hidden behind these operations, where life was at stake and doctors were true artists in their craft. And finally, this leads us to the question, how exactly did ancient physicians achieve such a level of mastery using only simple tools and intuition? Incredibly, but true, ancient civilizations possessed astronomical knowledge that leaves contemporary science in awe. For instance, the Maya were able to calculate the length of the solar year with an accuracy of 20 seconds, a precision that we achieve today only with modern technology. With their stone-built observatories, they watched the star-studded night sky, recording every movement of celestial bodies. The Babylonians, who lived in what is now Iraq, predicted lunar eclipses with such accuracy that their astronomical tables remained relevant for centuries. The builders of Newgrange on the Irish coast created a structure that was illuminated by the sun's rays only on the winter solstice, demonstrating not only the skill of the architects, but also a deep understanding of astronomy. This place served not only as a temple, but also as an observatory, where people gathered to honor the change of seasons. In the silence of these temple observatories, ancient observers gazed in awe at celestial phenomena, tracking stars and planets as if they were part of a living organism. And here begins the truly astonishing. The Antikythera mechanism found on the bottom of the Aegean Sea is an ancient device for calculating the movement of celestial bodies created more than 2,000 years ago. This mechanism, consisting of many gears, allowed its owners to predict not only the positions of the moon and sun, but also solar and lunar eclipses with remarkable accuracy. How was this possible? The answer lies in the fact that ancient cultures placed great importance on observing the sky, which allowed them not only to orient themselves in space, but also to synchronize their agricultural cycles with natural changes. Imagine in the darkness of night, amidst the whispering of the wind, they looked at the twinkling stars, realizing that each moment had great significance for their existence. Did they know that their knowledge would continue to amaze scientists for millennia? The astronomical achievements of ancient peoples continue to inspire researchers and astronomers, making us wonder how deeply they understood the universe. Deep beneath the earth of Cappadocia lie hidden true underground cities that can astonish anyone with their scale. Some of them have up to 20 levels deep. Imagine a network of tunnels stretching for kilometers with ventilation shafts providing fresh air and wells from which the inhabitants could draw water. The sound of footsteps in these narrow corridors is muffled, creating a sense of seclusion and protection from the outside world. The flickering light of torches emphasizes the texture of the walls, carved from volcanic tuff, which radiate coolness, shielding from the heat and dangers that might lurk above. The complex infrastructure of the underground cities could serve various purposes. Some researchers believe they were shelters from persecution or enemy raids, while others suggest they were used for storing and producing wine, as well as creating religious centers for worship. In some of these underground complexes, stone doors have been found that could be closed from the inside, protecting the inhabitants from intrusions. Did you know that in one such city, Derinkuyu, up to 20,000 people could live? It's incredible but true, these underground cities were built to meet all the needs of their inhabitants. They had kitchens, storerooms, and even places to keep animals. But that's not the most extraordinary thing. In some tunnels, ancient frescoes have been discovered, indicating that people did not just hide here, but also spent time creating art, perhaps in the hope of a better future. And here's where it gets really strange. Scientists still debate when exactly and by whom these amazing underground cities were built. Some theories point to the Hittites, while others suggest early Christians seeking refuge from persecution. What's even more shocking? More than 100 such underground complexes have been found in Cappadocia, and this is just the number of those that have been explored. In the dense jungles of Central America, hidden among the thick foliage and mysterious shadows, lie magnificent temples and palaces once inhabited by the thriving Maya civilization. Suddenly, around the 8th century AD, they abandoned their cities, and this departure has been a subject of much debate among scholars. Imagine the rustling of leaves embracing the abandoned structures and the sounds of wild animals filling the space where once laughter and life echoed. One of the most discussed reasons for their disappearance is the climate. Researchers suggest that a series of severe droughts occurred, drying up water sources and destroying agriculture. Paleoclimatological data indicate that rainfall decreased by 25%, which was catastrophic for a society dependent on farming. But that's not all. Resource depletion also played a role. Due to excessive deforestation for construction and agriculture, the Maya faced a shortage of wood necessary for their survival. And here's where it gets even more extraordinary. Some researchers believe that wars between different city-states exacerbated internal conflicts and further weakened the civilization. When the economic system failed, social unrest erupted, leading to entire families leaving their homes. What's even more shocking? Epidemics likely ravaged the population, weakening the remaining inhabitants and undermining their ability to resist. As a result, once magnificent centers of culture and trade became abandoned, and now the jungle envelops them like a mystery waiting to be revealed. Numerous findings, such as ceramics and tools, show that life here once thrived, but now only the eerie echo of the past resonates among the ruins. And so in these silent streets, the sound of researchers' footsteps breaks the silence, opening new mysteries for future generations. On a map drawn by the Ottoman admiral Piri Reis in the early 16th century, the shores are depicted that have been hidden under an ice cover for thousands of years. Imagine a route along the coast of Antarctica with detailed contours that even modern cartographers find astonishing. But what is truly shocking is that the admiral claimed to have used ancient sources, including works by Greeks and Romans, to create this map. And it's not just empty words. The accuracy of the coastal images is indeed puzzling, as modern research shows that the outlines drawn more than 500 years ago match what we know today about the underwater topography of Antarctica. Do you know that Piri Reis was not the only one to leave behind mysterious maps? In the 14th century, the Vinland map was created, which depicts North American coasts and raises many questions. How could medieval sailors capture such details if, according to the official version, Europeans discovered America only in the late 15th century? This raises questions about the knowledge that ancient civilizations possessed and where they acquired it. But this is not the most peculiar thing. Modern geographers and historians study these maps using technologies such as computer tomography to uncover their secrets. Research shows that some of these ancient maps could be based on earlier, lost documents that might contain information about lands we know nothing about. For example, some maps depict riverbeds and mountain ranges that do not appear on modern maps. How is this possible? And then things get really strange. Maps created in different eras contain similar elements that should not have been known at the time. Even if we exclude the possibility of myths or legends, the question remains, where did these cartographers get their information, which seems so accurate? Some researchers suggest that there exists forgotten knowledge about sea routes and continents that was lost in history. What do you think might still be hidden beyond our current knowledge? Remember that Piri Reis was not only a cartographer but also an experienced captain who made numerous voyages. His maps are not just artistic creations. They may contain messages about ancient civilizations that have left their traces. What do you think are the secrets hidden in these mysterious images? And what else can we learn from ancient maps that seem to simply testify to the past? At an altitude of more than 3,800 meters above sea level, there are the enigmatic Sun Gates in Tiwanaku, a monument that is awe-inspiring in its grandeur and mystery. These gates, which stand at a height of 3 meters and a width of 4, are made of andesite, a heavy stone weighing around 10 tons. The central bas-relief depicts a god with rays, which raises many questions about its significance. Do you know that some researchers claim this symbol could be connected to an ancient solar calendar? The gates served as a marker for observing the equinoxes and solstices, emphasizing their astronomical importance. Remarkably, the precise orientation of the gates allows the sun to pass through them on certain days of the year, creating a unique spectacle of light and shadow that was an important ritual in ancient times. But that's not all. Around the central figure are mysterious symbols, some of which remain uninterpreted, and scientists debate their meaning. Imagine the thin air of the highlands filled with the sounds of the wind, and the light playing on the ancient carved surfaces, creating a sense of sacred space where time seems to stand still. This atmosphere draws tourists and researchers from around the world, eager to touch the mysteries of ancient culture. And what is most intriguing, the sun gates may hold not only astronomical, but also cosmological secrets that could change our understanding of ancient civilizations. Queen Nefertiti, possessing extraordinary beauty and influence, left behind numerous questions that remain unanswered to this day. The most intriguing aspect is her portrayal in the images found in tombs and temples, where she is depicted as the symbol of the ideal ancient Egyptian woman, with delicate features, high cheekbones, and vibrant ornaments. This underscores her significant role in the religious revolution of her husband, Pharaoh Akhenaten, who introduced the worship of the single god Aton, fundamentally altering the religious landscape of the country. However, after the 12th year of Akhenaten's reign, Nefertiti disappears from historical records, and her name is no longer mentioned. How could this have happened? The theories surrounding her disappearance are as varied as they are fascinating. Some researchers suggest she died from an epidemic, while others believe she could have been exiled or even changed her name, becoming a co-regent pharaoh known as Smenkhkare. And here is where it gets truly intriguing. There is a theory that Nefertiti could have ruled alone under this name, but no definitive evidence has been found. The mystery surrounding her fate deepens with the discovery of a mysterious mummy known as the Younger Lady, which is believed to be Nefertiti. This mummy was found in a tomb that some scholars believe belonged to her son Tutankhamun, and its facial features may confirm a familial connection to the queen. But this is not the most peculiar aspect. The search for Nefertiti's tomb, which is believed to be located in the Valley of the Kings, continues to this day, and archaeologists hope to find more clues that will shed light on her disappearance. Imagine this: a charismatic figure who had such a profound impact on ancient Egyptian religion could simply vanish without a trace, leaving behind only a trail of enigmas and speculations. 80 years of research, new artifact discoveries, and historical text analyses have not provided a clear answer to the question, where is Nefertiti? Ancient Egyptians believed that after death, the soul of a person was sent to Duat, the realm of the dead, and needed assistance for a successful journey. The Book of the Dead was a collection of spells and instructions placed in tombs with the deceased to guide them through the dangers of the afterlife. Imagine the flickering torches illuminating the sacred texts written on papyrus in the dimly lit burial chambers, where each line was a key to the salvation of the soul. One of the most crucial stages of this journey was the weighing of the heart before Osiris, the supreme deity of the afterlife. The heart, as a symbol of conscience, was placed on scales and balanced with the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth. If the heart was light, the soul could continue its journey, but if it was heavy, it faced a terrible fate of being devoured by the demon Amit. But how did ancient Egyptians prepare for this trial? Mummies were created with extraordinary care. Internal organs were removed, and the body was treated with natron and anointed with aromatic oils to preserve it in perfect condition for eternal life. Imagine the priests reciting spells during the mummification process to ensure the soul's protection on the path to the fields of Ialu, where eternal joy and abundance reigned. Tombs were not only filled with mummified bodies, but also with various items needed for the afterlife: food, drink, jewelry, and even miniature statues of servants to serve their master in the afterlife. These burial rituals were truly a theatre of solemnity and deep faith in the continuation of life after death. The most astonishing fact? Some of these tombs were so richly decorated that their walls were adorned with vibrant frescoes depicting scenes from the lives of the deceased, who were now meant to become part of eternity. Imagine holding in your hands an ancient clay vessel, dating back approximately 250 years before our era. This is not just an artifact, it is the Baghdad battery, capable of altering your understanding of ancient civilization technologies. Found in Iraq, the vessel contains a copper cylinder and an iron rod, which raises questions about why ancient people would need such a device. Experiments have shown that when filled with an electrolyte, such as vinegar or lemon juice, this vessel can generate a small voltage, around 2 volts. Can you imagine how ancient craftsmen might have used this discovery to achieve something extraordinary? Theories about the use of the Baghdad battery range from galvanizing metals to medical procedures, with some even suggesting it could have been used to create religious miracles. The weight of this artifact is noticeable. It feels heavy and substantial in your hands, and the tarnished metal reminds you of a time when its owners might have felt a slight tingling in their fingers upon contact with the working device. What is it like to hold something that could have been used for healing or creating magic before the eyes of spectators? Scientists still debate what exactly could have been done with this battery, but one thing is certain. Its existence challenges many of our assumptions about the technologies available to people several thousand years ago. The question remains, how far had ancient craftsmen advanced in their experiments with electricity? Imagine how far their science might have developed if this battery had been used in everyday life. Imagine a world where civilization emerges seemingly out of nowhere with a developed writing system and complex social structure. Around 4,000 years before our era in Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Sumerian culture was born, which would have astonished anyone with its level of development. Suddenly, as if by magic, cities-states like and Uruk appeared, with their magnificent temples and intricate irrigation systems that allowed them to dig canals for watering fields. The Sumerians called themselves Blackheads, and in their myths, mysterious beings called Anunnaki are mentioned, who, according to their beliefs, brought knowledge and technology that formed the basis of their civilization. But how did they learn about such complex things as astronomy? Do you know that the Sumerians were the first in history to systematically observe celestial bodies? They not only recorded visible planets like Venus and Jupiter, but also guessed the existence of more distant objects, invisible to the naked eye. This was the time when, under the rustling of reeds in the marshes, scribes carved signs of cuneiform on clay tablets, recording knowledge about stars and planets. Their astronomical tablets mentioned events like solar and lunar eclipses, indicating a deep understanding of natural cycles. The Sumerians also created a number of systems based on the 60, which still influences our division of time into hours and minutes. Now imagine these ancient people building their cities using complex architecture that required knowledge of mathematics and engineering. Looking at these achievements, one cannot help but wonder, where did these skills come from? Perhaps the answer lies in the myths of gods who descended from the heavens and taught people the basics of science. Every time you hear the name Sumer, remember that it is not just an ancient culture, but a true treasure trove of knowledge, leaving riddles that continue to intrigue scholars and researchers to this day. For example, the Sumerians created laws that recorded the rights and obligations of citizens, and one of the earliest known codes, the Code of Hammurabi, was formulated precisely on the basis of their principles. In ancient texts from various cultures, one can encounter remarkably similar descriptions of flying chariots used by gods. For instance, In the Indian Vedas, vimanas are described as flying machines that could traverse the air, leaving behind a brilliant glow and deafening sound. The Bible also mentions heavenly chariots accompanied by fiery whirlwinds, creating a vivid image of a breathtaking spectacle, thunderous roars and winds rushing past as gods descend to earth. In Sumerian texts, one can find references to chariots of the gods, described as mechanisms capable of traversing vast distances in the celestial realm, as well as in other sources such as Assyrian and Akkadian myths, where gods are depicted as controlling these extraordinary vehicles. However, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are theories, such as those proposed by Erich von Däniken, who argue that these descriptions are evidence of contact with extraterrestrial beings possessing advanced technologies, which ancient peoples interpreted as divine phenomena. Conversely, some researchers believe that these descriptions are merely metaphors for natural phenomena, such as lightning or meteors, which ancient people tried to explain using mythological constructs. These chariots were accompanied not only by sounds but also by blinding light, which could shine like stars and create a sense of divine intervention. Texts often include details such as fire and thunder, adding drama to the described events. But did you know that in some cultures these chariots are also linked to astronomical phenomena? Vedic texts, for example, contain elements of astronomical calculations that suggest ancient civilizations were capable of observing celestial bodies with extraordinary precision. Each of these aspects raises new questions that await answers, such as what our ancestors actually saw in the sky. Throughout history, there have been societies that kept their knowledge in strict secrecy. Imagine the dim light of torches as members of the Eleusinian mysteries gathered, immersing themselves in rituals that promise not only understanding of life, but also hope for an afterlife. These mysterious ceremonies held in sacred places involved complex initiations that required participants to take an oath of silence about what they had seen and experienced. The mysteries were not just rituals, but entire systems of knowledge that could encompass philosophy, astronomy, and even medicine, passed down from generation to generation. But this is not all. Across the world there were other secret societies, such as the Pythagorean Union, which not only studied mathematics but also sought deep philosophical truths, basing their teachings on numbers and their mystical significance. Members of this union, known for their strict way of life, adhered to strict rules, including a multi-layered system of initiation that allowed only a few to reach the highest levels of knowledge. And what about the cult of Mithras? This society worshipped the god of light and justice, and their rituals included mysterious ceremonies held in underground temples where symbols were carved, conveying deep esoteric truths. These secret gatherings were accompanied by rituals that included symbolic gestures and passwords, transmitted only to the most devoted. Each gesture, each phrase spoken, held meaning that could only be understood by those who had undergone initiation. Did they know that all these practices formed a continuous thread of tradition, linking ancient civilizations with the present? These knowledge, once accessible only to the chosen few, continue to live in our cultures, but in a different form. What else do these secret societies hide, and what secrets could they reveal to us today? Imagine that in different corners of the earth, thousands of kilometers apart, ancient civilizations built pyramids that are remarkably similar to each other. In Egypt, the magnificent pyramids of Cheops, Chephren, and Mykerinos rise to the sky, reaching heights of 146 meters. In Mesoamerica, at places like Teotihuacan and Chichen Itza, pyramids with terraces and temples were built, also oriented towards the heavens, as if paying homage to the stars. But that's not all. In China, on the Loman Plateau, architects constructed pyramid-like structures that were just as precisely calculated as those in Egypt, possibly serving similar purposes. And what's even more astonishing, many of these constructions were built around the same time, raising questions about their possible connections. There are theories that suggest such similarities could have arisen through diffusionism, the spread of ideas through trade and migration. This explains how the cult of the sun, which was a central element in Egyptian mythology, suddenly appeared in other cultures such as the Aztecs and Incas, where solar symbols were used in rituals. But there are also more daring hypotheses, such as the existence of an ancient mother civilization that could have been the source of knowledge and technologies for all these peoples. Do you know that myths about the flood are not only found among the Sumerians and Jews, but also among the Inuit on Greenland and among tribes in Africa? This remarkable coincidence raises the question, how could this have happened? Did they all have a common source? Moreover, precise construction methods, such as the use of inclined ramps, were observed among both the Egyptians and the Maya, adding even more intrigue to this mystery. Ancient craftsmen used similar tools and technologies, allowing them to create such complex structures that still inspire awe. For example, in Mesoamerica, building blocks weighed up to 30 tons, while in Egypt, blocks for the pyramids sometimes reached 400 tons. What does this indicate? The exchange of knowledge or something more? Looking at all these parallels, it's impossible not to wonder, how could such distant cultures arrive at the same architectural solutions separated by oceans and continents? In ancient texts, one can find descriptions of technologies that evoke an authentic sense of awe and reverence, as if they belong to the future. For instance, the Mahabharata mentions shining weapons, whose power is so great that it causes the sky to glow with a brightness comparable to thousands of suns. After the use of this mysterious artifact, food became poisoned, and the survivors lost their hair and nails, as if they had encountered the destructive force of an unknown power. These passages, written in an archaic language, sound as if they were spoken by modern scientists describing the aftermath of a nuclear explosion. But that's not all. In Vedic texts, there are mentions of flying machines called vimanas, which, according to claims, could travel through the air at unprecedented speeds and even make interstellar journeys. Imagine how ancient Indian sages could gaze at the sky, dreaming of such machines that today seem like science fiction. Did you know that in ancient China there were mirrors capable of transmitting images over long distances? These devices used the principle of light reflection to create live images, as if anticipating modern video communication technologies. Reading these texts evokes a strange sensation, as if you are peering into a future intertwined with the past, where ancient knowledge and modern discoveries merge. What else lies hidden in the depths of history, waiting for its moment to reveal its secrets? Golden figurines from Colombia, known as golden airplanes, present a true enigma for archaeologists and historians. These small artifacts of the Quimbaya culture feature triangular wings, a vertical stabilizer, and a shape remarkably resembling the fuselage of a modern airplane. When the light from museum lamps falls on their shiny surface, viewers cannot help but notice the elegance of the lines, crafted with a skill worthy of today's jewelers. What is truly intriguing is that when scientists created scaled models based on these figurines, they discovered that they possess aerodynamic stability, meaning that if someone were to launch them, they could actually fly. But how could ancient people envision such forms when the technology for metalworking was so primitive compared to today's standards? This contrast between high artistic achievements and primitive production methods raises many questions. Some researchers claim that these figurines could be evidence of ancient flying machines capable of taking to the air, while others suggest they might represent stylized images of birds or insects. These interpretations are intriguing in their own right, but neither fully explains the picture. It is worth noting that the figurines were made of gold, which not only gave them aesthetic value, but also symbolic significance. Gold in ancient cultures was often associated with divinity and power, so it is possible that these airplanes had ritualistic use. Perhaps they were used during ceremonies related to the flight of souls or appeals to gods. Imagine these gleaming figurines in the hands of a priest, raised to the heavens in search of blessing. This mystery remains unsolved, and each new look at these artifacts opens up new avenues for thought and research. The golden airplanes are not just objects, they are a window into a world about which we know so little. It is fascinating to wonder what else lies hidden in the archives of ancient civilizations, waiting to be discovered. Majestic ziggurats, like colossal staircases, reached for the heavens, towering to heights of 90 meters, bestowing upon them the status of architectural marvels. These stepped structures, constructed from fired clay bricks and adorned with glazed tiles, not only emphasized the power of ancient civilizations, but also served as symbols of the connection between the earthly and divine realms. Each ziggurat featured multiple levels leading up to a temple at the summit where, according to theories, rituals in honor of gods were conducted. However, this was not their sole purpose. Some researchers suggest that ziggurats may have functioned as astronomical observatories, allowing priests to observe stars and predict natural changes. Imagine the view from the upper platform, the city below with its houses and streets appearing like toys, and the long shadows cast by the ziggurat at sunset, creating an atmosphere of grandeur and mystery. As one ascended the monumental staircases, the sensation of approaching the heavens grew more intense, as if climbing towards the abode of the gods. There are even theories that ziggurats served as shelters during floods, making them protectors of the population from the elements. Some researchers note that they may have symbolized the world mountain, the center of the world, to which all living beings aspire. These structures were not merely architectural feats, but also significant cultural artifacts reflecting the spiritual and practical aspirations of the civilizations that inhabited Mesopotamia. With each new discovery about ziggurats, more mysteries and questions arise. How were they built without modern technology? How long did their construction take? And did you know that some ziggurats featured complex water supply and drainage systems, making them not only sacred but also functional? Imagine crystal-clear skulls, perfectly polished, as if carved from a single piece of quartz. These enigmatic artifacts were discovered in Central America and are astonishing in their anatomical precision. Every detail, from the teeth to eye sockets, was reproduced with remarkable accuracy. The cold crystal feels alive, and its transparency creates a unique play of light, refracting into millions of tiny rainbows, reflecting every movement. Looking into the empty eye sockets, one feels as if the skulls are observing you, as if they hold ancient secrets inaccessible to modern man. But what is truly astonishing is their origin, shrouded in mystery. Some scientists claim they are ancient artifacts with mystical properties, capable of healing or predicting the future, while others insist they are clever 19th-century forgeries created to attract tourists. Each skull weighs around 30 kilograms, and its creation would have taken decades, if even possible, with the technology of the time. Some researchers believe it would have required at least 7 different tools to achieve such flawless polishing. This raises questions. How could ancient peoples reach such heights of skill? Or perhaps it was just the clever manipulations of more modern craftsmen. Do you know that even the most meticulous analyses have not been able to determine the exact age of these skulls? Some have been dated back at least 800 years, while others could be much older. Each discovery in this mysterious world adds new layers to a picture filled with questions and wonder. Each skull, like a guardian of secrets, awaits the day when its story will finally be unraveled. Imagine a world beneath the waves, where among vibrant coral reefs lies a mysterious structure resembling a paved road, the Bimini Road. These rectangular blocks, perfectly aligned and forming a path-like shape, have intrigued researchers and adventurers for decades. But what is this structure? Some scientists claim it to be the remnants of an ancient civilization, possibly Atlantis, as spoken of in ancient legends, while others insist it is merely a natural geological formation created by the forces of nature. However, what is truly astonishing is that in the 20th century, psychic Edgar Cayce predicted that the remains of Atlantis would be found in this region, and now, as underwater expeditions explore this area, his prophecy takes on new hues. As sunlight penetrates the water, it creates a play of light and shadow, painting mysterious patterns on the surface of the stone blocks, while swaying seaweed wrapping around these massive stones adds a sense of living nature hidden beneath the water's surface. Some blocks reach nearly 3 meters in length and about 1 meter in width, making their dimensions particularly impressive. The question remains open: how could such constructions have been built, and for what purpose? Researchers delve into the search for answers, and each new discovery raises even more questions. Is it possible that this place is connected to the myths of lost civilizations? Or could such a structure have formed naturally, under the influence of water and currents? It is interesting that some theories suggest a connection between the Bimini Road and other mysterious underwater formations found in different parts of the world, which may indicate a shared history lost in time. Underwater archaeologists continue their research, and with each new dive, they uncover more fascinating facts that only fuel the debates. Meanwhile, the mystery of the Bimini Road continues to lure researchers and enthusiasts of enigmas. Who knows what other secrets lie hidden at the bottom of the ocean? In the Atacama Desert, where the scorching air creates the illusion of mirages, there stands a colossal anthropomorphic figure known as the Atacama Giant. Its height is approximately 190 meters, and it is carved directly into the slope of a hill, creating a striking contrast between the dark lines of the figure and the light background of the earth. What's most fascinating? This geoglyph was created using a technique where stones with dark surfaces were removed, exposing the light soil beneath them. Thus, the image, which scientists estimate could have been created around 4,000 to 2,000 years before our era, came into existence. But that's not the most mysterious part. There are several theories about the purpose of this giant. Some researchers believe it served as an astronomical marker, allowing ancient people to track the movement of stars and planets. Others suggest it could have been an image of a deity associated with fertility, intended to attract rain and ensure a bountiful harvest. Still others claim that the Atacama Giant pointed to water sources, vital for survival in this harsh climate. Imagine ancient people standing on this hill, seeing their creation from above, as if it were a message to gods or future generations. Each stroke in this giant drawing holds a mystery that remains unsolved until new evidence is found. Against the backdrop of the lifeless desert, where temperatures can reach 50 degrees Celsius during the day, creating such a geoglyph appears as an unimaginable achievement. It's hard to fathom the effort and time required to leave such a mark on history. But here's where things get truly extraordinary. Research shows that the Atacama Giant is not the only one decorating these lands. Other geoglyphs have been discovered nearby, each telling its own story. What's even more astonishing is the possibility that these figures were part of a broader cultural landscape that we are just beginning to understand. But here's what's even more remarkable. Some scientists believe that these images could have been used for rituals related to worship, opening up entirely new horizons in our understanding of the spirituality of ancient peoples. Imagine a dark basalt stone weighing over 70 kilograms with 3 texts inscribed on its surface in different languages. This stone, known as the Rosetta Stone, became the key to understanding ancient Egyptian writing, which had been lost for nearly 2,000 years. A sensation occurred when French scholar Jean-François Champollion made a breakthrough in 1822 by deciphering the hieroglyphs using this artifact. The texts on the stele are in Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic languages, and it was this triple inscription that allowed Champollion to establish a connection between them. The rough surface of the stone contrasts with the clear lines of the hieroglyphs, which seem to come alive under one's touch, feeling the breath of a 1,000-year-old history. Champollion's discovery opened the doors to understanding the culture, religion, and daily life of ancient Egyptians. Did you know that before his work, scholars had to rely on vague guesses and fragments? After the decipherment, it became possible to read texts that describe the lives of pharaohs, religious rituals, and even the everyday concerns of ordinary people. The stele contains decrees that emphasize the importance of recording and transmitting knowledge. Champollion spent years analyzing symbols, and his efforts allowed us to read works such as the Book of the Dead, which preserve the ancient Egyptians' beliefs about the afterlife. But this is not the most amazing part. Deciphering the hieroglyphs opened up a whole world full of mysteries that had been waiting for their moment, and here begins the truly fascinating part. Thanks to his work, we learned that the world was filled with complex myths and rituals that had previously been considered mere legends. And did you know that some hieroglyphic symbols have multiple meanings and can be interpreted differently depending on the context? For example, the Ankh symbol can mean both life and immortality, making the understanding of ancient Egyptian culture even more intriguing. And here lies a new mystery. How exactly were these symbols used in various rituals? Giant stone spheres of Costa Rica are a true archaeological enigma, still studied by scientists from around the world. Imagine this. The sizes of these spheres range from a few centimeters to 2.5 meters in diameter, and their weight can reach 16 tons. They are primarily made of granodiorite and have nearly perfect spherical shapes, making them even more intriguing. How could ancient people create such perfect spheres without modern tools? Some researchers propose that these stone spheres could have served as astronomical markers, symbols of status, or even navigational aids for local tribes. What's even more mysterious, the spheres are arranged in specific geometric patterns that raise many questions about their purpose. The humid air of the tropical forest envelops these stone artifacts, creating a contrast between their ideal shapes and the chaotic vegetation of the jungle. When you stand near them, the feeling of touching an ancient mystery literally penetrates your soul. Researchers have even found that some of these spheres can point to celestial phenomena, such as sunrises and sunsets. Each sphere, like a guardian of secrets from the past, evokes a desire to unravel their purpose. But that's not all. Upon closer inspection, some spheres are found to have indentations and carvings, adding even more mysteries to their history. The question remains open: how could such massive stone objects be moved and placed in these locations? In this tropical paradise where nature and history intertwine, the stone spheres remain silent witnesses, holding many unsolved mysteries. Imagine ancient civilizations encountering beings with technologies they could not even fathom. The theory of paleocontact suggests that for thousands of years, Earth was visited by extraterrestrial civilizations, leaving traces in myths, artifacts, and cave paintings. For instance, on the walls of a cave in Sudan, figures are depicted that remarkably resemble astronauts in spacesuits, complete with characteristic helmets and even devices on their hands. In Vedic texts from India, Vimanas are described, flying machines capable of traversing not only the air but also space, raising questions about the ancient knowledge of technology that could overcome vast distances. Among the Maya, one can find images easily compared to modern astronauts, and on medieval European frescoes, mysterious flying saucers appear, which could bewilder any contemporary observer. Advocates of the paleocontact theory point to the sudden appearance of complex technologies and highly developed civilizations in different historical periods, asserting that this could not have occurred without external intervention. For example, the construction of pyramids in Egypt requires knowledge and resources that were not available at the time. However, critics of the theory argue that such ideas often undermine the very concept of the scientific method, claiming that many of the evidence can be explained by natural processes, cultural exchanges, or even the fantasies of ancient peoples. But imagine how it would have felt for ancient people to see technologies that seemed like magic, a sense of awe mixed with fear of the unknown. This enigma continues to spark debate and discussion among scientists and enthusiasts, and each new artifact or description adds another piece to this complex and intriguing puzzle. Did you know that in some texts, gods are described as descending from the heavens on flying wheels? The legend of the lost world of Atlantis has captivated the minds of researchers and dreamers for centuries, and the whispering of the sea waves as if sharing secrets conceals this intriguing story. For the first time, the mysterious island state was mentioned by the philosopher Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, written around 2,000 years ago, 1,400 years ago. Plato described Atlantis as a powerful civilization that, according to his words, was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which today is interpreted as the Strait of Gibraltar. But where exactly could this mysterious land have been located? There are numerous hypotheses that spark debate and fascination among historians and archaeologists. Some researchers believe that Atlantis sank into the depths of the Mediterranean Sea, possibly near the island of Santorini, where the eruption of a volcano created extensive underwater ruins. Others maintain that Atlantis could have been in the Atlantic Ocean, adhering to the idea that it was located near the modern-day Azores archipelago. There are also those who claim that the lost continent stretched across the North Sea, possibly somewhere between Britain and Norway, but this is not all. Some theories go so far as to consider the Caribbean basin in the search for traces of Atlantis. It is strange, but there is also a version that this incredible civilization could have been located on the territory of Antarctica, hidden under the ice that conceals ancient secrets, waiting for its moment. Imagine. Under the ice lie cities once filled with life, now waiting for their secrets to be revealed. Water, like a great guardian, carefully protects these mysteries, and the sea breeze brings with it the smell of salt and the breath of antiquity. Each new search for Atlantis is imbued with an atmosphere of adventure and discovery, for who knows what treasures may be hidden beneath the waves. Researchers equip expeditions filled with hopes and expectations, and perhaps it is they who will one day be able to find out what happened to this magnificent civilization mentioned by Plato. Scientific research and underwater archaeological expeditions continue to uncover new data, and as long as we yearn to unravel these mysteries, the question remains: perhaps Atlantis is still alive, hidden from our view, waiting for its moment to reappear on the surface. Do you doubt that ancient structures were built with such astronomical precision that they could record the most significant natural events? For instance, the Temple of Abu Simbel, twice a year, on the birthday of Ramses II and the vernal equinox, is filled with light that penetrates its sanctuary, illuminating the statues of the gods. This effect occurs because the entrance to the temple is aligned precisely along the axis, allowing sunlight to illuminate the inner chambers during these special moments. Imagine the light slowly entering, playing with shadows, creating an almost mystical atmosphere as spectators hold their breath, feeling the sacred majesty of the moment. But this is just the beginning of the amazing astronomical coincidences. The Pyramid of Kukulkan in Chichen Itza, majestically rising above the jungle, creates the illusion of a slithering snake during the vernal and autumnal equinoxes, as sunlight slides down its steps, casting shadows that appear to move like a snake. Spectators gather to witness this phenomenon, and the awestruck murmurs of the crowd create an atmosphere of genuine magic. And what about Stonehenge? This megalithic complex, built more than 4,000 years ago, is aligned with the sunrise on the summer solstice, when the first rays of sunlight pass through the stone arches, creating an effect of sacred light. A sense of awe fills those who witness this natural wonder, realizing that their ancestors could measure time and the changes of nature with the same precision as we do today. These ancient structures are testaments to knowledge and skills that have been lost over the centuries but remain relevant to us. And the most astonishing thing? These places where archaeology meets astronomy can reveal many more secrets that yearn to be uncovered. The curse of the pharaohs is not just a myth, but a mystery that has puzzled people for decades. One of the most striking examples is Lord Carnarvon, who tragically passed away just a few months after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. Within just a few days of entering this musty world filled with dust and ancient secrets, Carnarvon was bitten by a mosquito and subsequently developed an infection that led to his death. But that's not all. On the same day he died, the lights went out in Cairo and panic broke out on the streets. It sounds like a scene from a movie, doesn't it? But perhaps it wasn't just this that created the aura of mystery around the discovery. Scientific explanations range from theories about toxic mold fungi living in ancient tombs to psychosomatic effects arising from the fear and expectations of researchers. Imagine walking into a tomb where the air is heavy with the smell of moisture and decay, and the dim light of torches casts shadows on hieroglyphs warning of evil. It seems that each step echoes in the silence, as if the very history is watching you. People begin to feel unease. It's not just the darkness, but a place where the souls rest, and perhaps not just archaeologists are fighting for their peace, but other cases raise questions. Who else has suffered from this curse? Many researchers and expedition members also encountered unusual illnesses and even deaths after the tomb's discovery. Some of them claimed to have heard strange noises, felt a cold wind in closed spaces, and even saw shadows moving in the darkness. The legend of the pharaoh's curse continues to live on, and many believe it affects not only people but also their descendants. Interestingly, in the scientific community, there are opinions that high humidity and lack of ventilation in tombs could have led to the spread of toxic spores capable of causing serious illnesses. But who can say what the true nature of these mysterious phenomena is? The legend of the pharaoh's curse becomes increasingly intriguing, and each new case only adds fuel to the fire of mystery, making us wonder, what else do the ancient treasures hide? 80 years of prosperity is not just a number. It is the time when the Minoan civilization reached the peaks of its splendor. Palace complexes such as the famous Knossos Palace covered several hectares and were equipped with water supply and sewerage systems that were true engineering marvels of their time. Vibrant frescoes on the walls depicted scenes from life, including sporting events and religious rituals, reflecting the artistic level that amazed contemporaries. The Minoans not only built magnificent buildings but also developed maritime trade, becoming significant players in the Mediterranean economy. What is astonishing is that their world, filled with life and trade, suddenly plunged into chaos. There is a belief that the cause of this was a catastrophic volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini, which occurred around 1600 years before our era. During this powerful event, the earth trembled with thunderous noise and the skies were covered with grey ash, blocking out the sun. Tsunamis pounded the shores of Crete with terrifying force, sweeping away everything in their path and destroying the Minoan fleet, which was the foundation of their trade and connections with other cultural centers. But this is not the only theory. Some researchers point to the possibility of a Mycenaean invasion which could have taken advantage of the Minoans' weakness in the midst of the catastrophe. Internal social conflicts could also have undermined stability, leading to the disintegration of the unified state into separate warring groups. In the once prosperous cities, panic reigned. People tried to save themselves from the impending disaster, but no building could protect them from the destructive forces of nature. Streets filled with screams and chaos as the last moments of peaceful life faded into the past. And what is truly shocking, after this collapse, the Minoan civilization never recovered, leaving behind only riddles and ruins that archaeologists continue to study today, trying to unravel what really happened on those fateful days. Imagine standing before a marvel that combines architectural genius and natural beauty. The Hanging Gardens of Semiramis, creating an illusion of paradise right in the heart of Mesopotamia. These gardens, according to legend, were terraces supported by tall columns rising to several levels, creating a spectacle that captivated even the most seasoned travelers. But how did water reach such heights? The secret lay in a complex irrigation system that used pumps to transfer water from the Euphrates River, creating a soothing sound that filled the air and drew attention. Picture the aroma of exotic plants like myrtle and pomegranate blending with the scent of fresh water, creating an atmosphere where one could forget the scorching heat of the desert. In the shade of these green oases one could find respite from the blazing sun, feeling a coolness that seemed like a true miracle in such a harsh climate. Despite their fame as one of the 7 wonders of the world, archaeologists have yet to find definitive remains of these gardens, sparking heated debates among historians and researchers. Did they truly exist, or were they merely a figment of imagination? Imagine how people could marvel at these gardens teeming with life and beauty, perhaps never touching the ground. They would have been the size of a football field, covered in a variety of colors and greenery that contrasted with the surrounding desert, creating a true symphony of colors. The question of how exactly the hanging gardens looked and whether they truly existed remains open, but their image continues to inspire the imagination even today. Surrounding this mysterious wonder are legends that stir the minds of researchers, eager to unravel the secrets that could lead to new discoveries. Imagine, thousands of years ago, long before astronomy became a science, our ancestors created remarkable structures for observing the heavens. For instance, the Goseck Circle in Germany, dating back to around 4900 BCE, is a Neolithic observatory consisting of concentric circles of earthen mounds and wooden posts. These structures, with precisely aligned passageways, were used to track the sun's rise and set on key days of the year, such as the solstices and equinoxes. In the quiet of the pre-dawn hour, when the world is shrouded in a light mist, ancient observers would gather in anticipation of the moment when the sun's disk gradually emerged between the massive mounds, creating a sense of sacred connection to cosmic cycles. But this is far from the only such structure. Stonehenge in Britain, with its massive stone blocks, was also built for astronomical observations, allowing ancient Druids to track the movement of celestial bodies with remarkable accuracy. Newgrange in Ireland, with its magnificent stone tomb, was oriented for solar events, when the first rays of morning light penetrate inside on the days of the winter solstice, filling the space with magical light. And the Mayan observatories, such as El Castillo in Chichen Itza, used complex astronomical calculations to determine the time for planting and harvesting, demonstrating a deep understanding of celestial cycles. These structures testify to how ancient civilizations used their knowledge of the sun and stars to organize their lives. Isn't it fascinating? These ancient astronomers, based on their observations, created calendars that accurately predicted solar and lunar eclipses, which were the basis for the most important events in their societies. In the heart of the Bolivian highlands lies a mysterious structure that continues to puzzle researchers: Puma Punku. Imagine massive stone blocks weighing up to 800 tons, cut with such precision that not even a knife blade can fit between them. These blocks, made from extremely hard materials like andesite and granite, have perfectly smooth surfaces and exact right angles, comparable to the work of modern machinery. But how could builders achieve such extraordinary precision in conditions where even today's tools struggle with similar tasks? Intriguingly, intricate carvings and indentations can be seen on all the blocks, giving the impression that the stones were not merely cut, but sculpted by a skilled artisan. But this is not the most mysterious aspect. Inside the structure, metal clamps have been found connecting the blocks, raising even more questions. Who and why used such technologies in ancient times without written records of the construction? An eerie silence envelops this place, and the thin mountain air creates an atmosphere of mystery as if nature itself is guarding the secrets of these ancient stones. The contrast between the rough surrounding landscape and the incredible precision of the stonework is breathtaking. How could people living thousands of years ago create such a structure? Researchers standing before these stones find themselves wondering, what secrets do these ancient walls hide, and what else might Pumapunku reveal? Once, at the entrance to the harbour of Rhodes, stood a magnificent statue known as the Colossus of Rhodes, approximately 33 meters tall. Imagine the sun's rays reflecting off its bronze body, creating a blinding shine visible from many kilometers away. This monumental figure, erected in honor of the sun god Helios, not only amazed with its grandeur, but also symbolized victory over conquerors. The bronze statue, mounted on a stone base, was so large that it could rival modern skyscrapers. The Colossus was built in 280 BC and became one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, leaving an indelible impression on all who entered the harbour. The masters who created this statue used around 13 tons of bronze and numerous other materials to create a figure that embodied the strength and resilience of the island. However, its history was short-lived. Around 226 BC, just a few decades after its completion, a powerful earthquake destroyed the Colossus, leaving only fragments scattered on the ground as a reminder of its former glory. But there is another mystery. Some researchers suggest that the Colossus served not only as a statue, but also as a lighthouse for ships approaching the shores of Rhodes. There is a belief that its hands could indicate direction, and a fire lit on its head could illuminate the path for sailors at night. Imagine the roar of the waves at the feet of the giant, creating a rhythm that blends with the exclamations of awe from sailors who first saw this monument. The sound of the sea, mixed with admiration, filled the air as ships approached this wonder, and each new arrival could feel the majestic figure filling their view, evoking both fear and admiration. The Colossus did not just stand, it embodied the spirit of Rhodes and its people, their hopes and dreams of glory. According to legends, even after the statue's destruction, its fragments remained for many years, and people came to see this extraordinary heritage. They could feel the cold metal and imagine how magnificent the Colossus was when it stood in all its glory. It is interesting that this very monument inspired many artists and architects to create their own works, which in subsequent centuries attempted to replicate its grandeur. But even today, more than 2,000 years later, it continues to inspire, raising questions about how exactly this giant looked and what secrets its ruined form holds. On this secluded island, lost amidst the vast expanses of the Pacific Ocean, towering monumental statues known as moai stand, reaching heights of 10 meters and weighing up to 80 tons. Each of these stone figures is not merely a work of art, but a true symbol of the culture of the Rapa Nui people who once inhabited this island. Their stern faces with clearly defined features seem to gaze into the future and sometimes into the boundless waters of the ocean, as if guarding secrets that will forever remain unsolved. The statues are arranged along the coast, primarily facing the sea, as if welcoming travelers who bravely cross the watery expanses. However, these are not just statues, they are part of a whole cult that revered ancestors, for each one, according to legends, embodies the spirits of the ancestors, protecting their descendants. But how were these giants created and transported from quarries located several kilometers away? There are numerous theories, from using logs as rollers to the hypothesis that the statues walked by being rocked, which seems incredible, but considering their size and weight, this could have been the only way. While ocean waves crash against the shore, creating a backdrop for this mysterious scene, the wind gently caresses their stern faces, giving them an even more enigmatic appearance. An atmosphere of isolation reigns, and it seems that these stone giants guard not only the land but also the very history of humanity. The captivating story of the Moai intertwines with myths and legends, leaving behind a multitude of questions. What was the true purpose of their creation? And how could they have traversed such distances remaining unharmed? On Easter Island, where time seems to have stopped, each stone holds its secrets, eager to be revealed. The Great Sphinx of Giza, its length reaches 73 meters, and its height is 20 meters, standing guard over its secrets for more than 4,000 years. This monument, carved from a single block of limestone, is awe-inspiring in its grandeur and mysterious aura. Its face, with an expression that seems both wise and stern, has drawn the attention of researchers and adventurers for centuries. But do you know that there are several theories about its purpose? Some scholars believe that the Sphinx served as a guardian of the necropolis, protecting the rest of the pharaohs, while others suggest that it could have been a solar deity, embodying the rising sun. There are also those who consider it an astronomical marker, pointing to significant celestial events. And there's more. Beneath its powerful paws there may be hidden chambers and even treasures. The legend of Tut's Snow, which tells of how Pharaoh Thutmose IV, as a young man, saw the Sphinx in a dream and decided to clear it of sand, only adds to the intrigue. This story, where ancient history and myth intertwine, creates a sense that the Sphinx continues to keep its secrets, waiting for humanity to turn its attention back to it. The weathered stone, marked by the passage of time, radiates an energy that is impossible to ignore. The play of light and shadow on its face at sunrise and sunset creates the illusion that it lives its own life, observing the world around it. You can imagine how, at midday, its features stand out against the blue sky, and at twilight, when the sun's rays touch its sculpture, it takes on a nearly mystical aura. And according to research, beneath its paws may lie complex systems of chambers and tunnels, still awaiting discovery. What else might this stone guardian, which has yet to reveal its secrets, be hiding? In the caves of Liguria, in northern Italy, mysterious drawings have been discovered that make one wonder. Did our ancestors already possess knowledge of underwater technologies? These images, estimated to be over